For the time being, I think the pace of the American economy is really perfect speed and perfect temperature. It's not too hot, not too cold. It's perfect Goldilocks. Employment has been rising steadily. Unemployment has been coming down. And for the time being, the growth we see in the US economy is exactly where the Fed wants it to be. Now, there are clearly risks going forward. The first one is, at some point, wage growth can accelerate. Inflation probably might pick up a bit with the softness of the US dollar. So this perfect steady state that we have been in for so long now might not last beyond the next 6 to 12 months. Mm-hmm. What there is also is, as we had discussed previously, is there are first signs of weakness in certain areas in the US. Now, the data with Hurricane Harvey will clearly distort the data easily in certain areas, whether it's car sales, construction equipment, or the payroll numbers over probably the next 2 months or so. But there are certain sectors which seem like they are reaching the mature phase of the cycle, and that's cars, it is construction.
You've been pessimistic for a while. I just want to point that out to viewers. Why is it now going to roll over in terms of the stock market? Because I think that's where investors have been waiting to see signs or some evidence that the rally is over, and you simply it's not really transpired. In Europe it has to an extent, but not really in the United States.
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, let's maybe decompose the drivers of the equity market. For us, it's always about earnings and valuation, and earnings are a function of revenue and margins. Now, let's look at them individually. Revenue growth is probably at the moment as good as it gets. We have seen the synchronized global reacceleration, which started really very early on in 2016, as markets were talking themselves into a deflationary scenario. And the market has been reflecting this in estimates moving sharply higher, and equity markets moving higher over those 18 months. Now, we are seeing the second derivative stabilizing, if not turning south. Economic surprise indicators in the US have collapsed in the last 6 months. So revenue growth is probably not surprising positively from here. And the base is getting higher, which means the first half would have given us many positive surprises. There's a risk now to the downside with Q3, Q4, and that applies to the US and Europe.